Passionate Living with Kat Miller is brought to you by Healthy Communities 2030. For more information, go to creatinghealthycommunities.org.
And I thought it would be cool to open the show up today on a boat.
Yeah.
And where are we?
Niagara River.
In Western New York.
Yes.
Yes. It's very cool here. We love to walk down in the water, especially in the summertime. It's cooler here.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. We have a great show for you today. You will not want to miss one moment. We have Cassandra Butler on. She is one of the most amazing astrologists. She's not only going to talk about what it is to do personal astrology and how it works, but she's going to talk about these crazy times that are going on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She can tell us why it's happening according to the stars, what's going on, and what's going to happen. Ooh, you will not want to miss that. And then I met this amazing man. I love cars. And he built this transportation museum in Buffalo that he said, don't be underwhelmed. I walked through the doors. Oh my heavens, 2 buildings worth of some of the most extraordinary cars, motorcycles, bicycles.
Wow.
The building is mind-blowing. It's one of the most amazing automotive museums I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot. And why weren't you there, Rosina?
I slept in.
And then we're gonna do some yoga in the park, but Rosina, why weren't you at yoga in the park?
I slept in.
But at least we get to see her now, right? All right, well, you won't want to miss one moment of today's show. Come join us for a little bit of yoga.
Carrie, what are you doing in the park? Oh, well, today we're having a yoga event. So you can see we've got down the Women's Council of Realtors, and everybody's trying out their new Srinivas, and have some brunch a little bit later. And
we've got a protein shake.
Yeah. So this is a great company called The Blend, another women-owned business, and they just started. I actually helped them start their business about 2 years ago. So they converted a school bus into the bus over here, and Tracey's the owner. He's there in the gray.
Cool, thanks. You're always doing something cool in the park.
Yeah, and you can always, here's my tip and trick of the day. Your river rocks will help hold down your tablecloth.
I love your smoothie truck here. What is your name?
Tracey Taylor.
Tracey Taylor. Tracey, tell me about what you're doing here.
So The Blend was started about 3 years ago. We started it to just serve the community some healthy snacks. We came up with the menu, and then we created our homemade protein bar in conjunction with it. We also sell iced coffee and hot coffee.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, I teach power yoga at Mind Body Flow in East Amherst, and when I was asked to come here today, I couldn't wait because it was outside, and we all have been happy to be outside now, so being inside with the Zoom for yoga. So it's been a great situation for everybody. Beautiful sky. I just loved it. It was a great morning. Thank you for having me.
was telling Tim today when we were editing the show that we should get some people who enjoy the show to maybe say something about it. And so Rosina and I are walking down the street, you know, where we always are. And Tom, who I just met, literally just met, said he likes our show. And so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
we had
pulling
fresh
over.
flowers in the car.
He's got fresh flowers in the car from his garden, and he's giving these to Rosina and me. And wow,
We're all big fans.
It's so great to meet you. Thank you for saying that about the show.
You're welcome.
I so appreciate it.
It's fun.
My next guest is a dear, heartfelt soul sister, Cassandra Joan Butler, and she is an amazing astrologist, and she does intuitive readings as well. So combined together, I wanted to get a little bit of insight of what is going on this year. Cassandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you, dear soul sister Kat. It's wonderful to see you. I mean, I'm going to give you a virtual hug right now. Okay, so
Virtual, non-contagious hug.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Cassandra, tell me a little bit. It has been a crazy 2020. There's so much going on right now in the world around us. And I'm sure for most of the viewers, and I know myself, just so much going on in the inner world too. And my friends, my close life. Is there anything that you can tell us about going on in the stars? I know right from January, you said this was going to be a year of transformation.
Right. As the year opened, we had this lineup of all the planets in the sign of Capricorn. Now, Capricorn represents structure, business, government, power. And we had one planet which represents restructuring and limitations and loneliness. That's called Saturn, boundaries. And the other planet is Pluto, which represents total transformation through kind of a death and rebirth. These two planets together in Capricorn at 22 degrees only happens once every 500 years. So we knew it'd be something pretty important.
Wow, so it only happens once every 500 years? Good. Because I don't want another year like this. For another 500 years, I think I could deal with it a little better.
Exactly.
So is there any thoughts on what's ahead as we go through the rest of this year? Is anything going to shift, or is this should we just expect a total year of restructuring?
Well, I think we've all done a lot of restructuring so far, especially in the months of April and in July, restructuring with our inner wounded healer, because Chiron has been in the sign of Aries. That happens every 50 years, a mere drop in the bucket. But those two themes, restructuring power and our sense of authority, plus our internal healing. For the rest of 2020, we have a big pause, an astrological pause, that is, Kat. It's a retrograde between 9/9 and 11/11. So, of course, the symbolic person in me says, isn't that interesting? 911 twice. 9/9 to 11/11. We have Mars, which is action, in retrograde. So that might be another reintroduction with another type of perhaps restructuring, maybe a mutation of the virus. It's hard to say exactly. But the big news of 2020 only happens after December 20th.
Oh, what happens December 20th?
Yeah.
Okay.
The planet that
Good
it's
Sandra.
a good thing. It's a good thing. It's like a new order of things.
Okay.
Everyone is familiar with Aquarius from way back when, the 60s, the age of Aquarius, right?
Yeah.
So two planets line up at 0 degrees. That's Jupiter and Saturn at 0 Aquarius, and that launches a new template for business and work through technology. And I think we'll be on more firmer ground. And of course, so many businesses have been going virtual. An integration more of the computer skills, virtual skills. So there's a lot of hope to be had. But I think things will begin to really dovetail into a more new normal after December 20th.
Okay. Wow, that's good to hear. Yeah, I know there's been the whole world has had to readjust how it does business, how it stays in business, how people work, how we socialize. Everything has changed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the call words have been alone together. And I think that's reflected by the Chiron in Aries, because Aries is the sign of individuality. Chiron represents healing our inner wounds. Nothing will heal a wound faster than being by oneself. And so that is actually a painful healing path that we've all had to take. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely, a lot of people have told me how lonely they feel, especially people who live by themselves, and maybe they don't have an immunity pod, of people to interact with. And that it has definitely been a time of going inside. And as you said, when we go inside, that's where the work gets done. That's where the inner work gets done.
Right. And even if we are lucky enough to have a family that we've been sheltering in place with, I know we've all heard stories of frustration. And I always say, well, whoever you're living with, go into a room of your own at least once a day. Reflect and meditate.
Today. That is a great thing. Yes, and meditate. That's every guest we've had on says you've got to meditate right now. There is no way around that.
Exactly. It's our new food.
Now, what can people do to develop their own intuition? I think this is an important thing. And I also, if you could also address another thing, we're getting so much information bombarding us. And from a mental state, we try to process all of this.
Yes.
But also, we have our intuition. And I think that for some people, they're hearing information that doesn't always match with their intuition. But they're doing something based on information they're getting from every different direction. And that's not good for the health when you're not listening to your intuition, when you're going against it.
Oh, Kat, you are asking such a magnificent question, because I go back to the 1st of January 2020, and I was telling my students, my clients and friends, that 2020 is the year of transformation, and it's the year of stepping into our own personal authority, because these are authority planets which are crumbling down the external authority. So it's imperative upon each of us to do anything we can to develop our own wisdom. And of course, it's a simple question is meditation. Another simple answer might be putting like boundaries up around certain aspects of your life and trusting your own gut wisdom again. Each of the signs are being asked to step into their own authority and rebuild certain areas. And I would say this to anyone who questions, back in the 60s, we were told to question authority, become your own authority. And God bless the authorities out there who have been giving us information, but let's face it, it's been a lot of contradictory information over the past few months too. So independent, individual healing journeys are being activated in 2020 like they haven't been since 1968. Wow. And think about 1968 and 67, 69. The country was ablaze with many, many protests. Yeah. We're doing the same thing now.
Wow, that's interesting.
Mhm.
So it's interesting how the astrology confirms what's going on now. When you look, it is repeatable. You can see these cycles repeat themselves. You can see, I mean, like as you said, for thousands of years, people have been using astrology as a way
Mhm.
to see where things are at and where they're headed. Oh, Cassandra, thank you so much. You always have such beautiful wisdom to share. I am so grateful to you.
I'm going to give you a heart hug myself, dear Kat. You are doing fantastic work in the world, helping uplift us with your positivity and your beauty and your wisdom. So thank you.
You're such a sweetheart. Well, right back at you. Love you.
Love you too.
Hey, Western New York, did you know that Erie and Niagara counties are some of the least healthy in all of New York State?
So we've launched Healthy Communities 2030 to help empower our Buffalo Niagara region to be healthier.
Thank you, Lucy and Michaela. If you want to be part of Healthy Communities 2030 as a partner or a sponsor, please visit creatinghealthycommunities.org.
Healthy Communities 2030. Give us a call, 716-851-4052.
Oh my gosh, Jim. You said don't get your hopes up too high. And then I walk into this place, I'm overwhelmed. I was emotional when I walked in and saw the incredible amount of work, of passion that you've put into this project.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about how this came about?
Well, it all goes back to being a young child living in Buffalo, and the man next door had a Pierce arrow up on blocks that he hid away from the government because you were supposed to scrap them for aluminum value during World War II.
Okay.
And he had this Pierce arrow, and we went in. I was 3.5 years old and found sliding down the fenders was great sport. And he had a fit, and to keep me quiet, because I kept saying, why can't I play on this car? He would give me a button, a pin, a photo of an old car. And I said, well, this is pretty cool. I should go to all the old guys in the neighborhood and see if I can bug them. And so it was like Halloween every day. And by the time I'm 9, the basement's full. And my mother said, what are you going to do with all this stuff? I said, I'm going to have a car museum. We had gone to the Henry Ford in Detroit. I saw that, excuse me, and said, that's what I want to do. I want to have a car museum.
Wow. So you started out as this Dennis the Menace of the neighborhood.
Dennis the Menace of the neighborhood. I know they ran when they saw me coming. But by the time I'm 18, I moved down here in Buffalo, at Seneca, Michigan area, and started restoring cars, and that enabled me to collect a lot of things. So, yeah.
Well, let's take a look at some more of the museum.
Sure. Okay.
Jim, this is remarkable.
Thank you.
This was built by Frank Lloyd Wright?
It was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and he never built it, for Michigan and Cherry, right down the street from us in Buffalo.
Right.
I still get goose pimples when I look at it because I can't believe we were able to build it. And we built a building to build it inside of.
Right.
And it's going to be here for 100 years or more, we hope.
This is a filling station.
It is the Frank Lloyd Wright filling station, the first one he ever designed.
Wow.
And he did build one later in Cloquet, Minnesota, which is a modern design, 40 years later. But this was 1926, 27 is when he designed it.
The lights, everything. This is so.
Yeah, those are the bells where the gas would come down. Use gravity feed, hide the tanks in the air. That was the gas. That was where the gas came from. And those light up at nighttime. It's quite spectacular.
That is remarkable. Yeah. Wow. And you do events in here as well.
Many events. We've had almost 900 events in the last 23 years.
Wow.
Major events. Our capacity is 3,000 in the two parts of the building. A lot of companies and law firms and people like that. It's so unique. Anybody can go to four walls of some hotel or something, but look at this. To celebrate. It helps us with our journey, and it helps us pay our bills. We don't get any support from anybody. State or federal.
So this has all been...
This has all been, the state did help us build the structure, this structure, not the gas station. They helped us with this. I told them, help us build the ship and we'll take care of it after that. And we have. We've shown them. And we've been self-sufficient.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's extraordinary.
Yeah, we're very happy with that.
I want to have you show me the Playboy.
The Playboy car, made in Buffalo.
Would be fun. Made in Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, the Playboy car was something, a brainstorm of the Horwitz family from Buffalo. Right. And back in the 40s, after the war, they decided that they thought they could build a car, 2-passenger, for all these troops that are coming back from the war. And they were going to keep it under 1,000. That meant Chevy and everybody else was 1,400. The only thing they didn't take into account was that they were going to have children and they wouldn't be able to use a 2-passenger car.
Right.
So it only lasted a couple of years. There were about 97 made. Right. Luckily we have one of those. We restored years ago the prototype for the Kaplan family, which is part of the Horwitz family. Right. And we're thrilled to have this one. But the history is really cool because the Playboy magazine was named after this car.
So the actual magazine.
The magazine was named after and there's a copy of the article over my other shoulder of Hugh Hefner was going to call it Stag Magazine.
Right.
His lawyer said, no, there's already a Stag Magazine. And one of his board members said, my cousin in Buffalo was made a car called Playboy. Why don't we call it Playboy? And it's exactly how the name came about. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Now, Jim, tell me a little bit about this Valentine's section here and this first piece.
Well, that's the most important piece to Marianne and I. In 1970, February 1970, for Valentine's Day, I had found that in an antique shop before, and I surprised her with that Valentine card. Right. Trust me when I'm at the wheel of the matrimonial automobile. And that's the first Valentine that I gave her, and we were married October 23rd of 70. Which will be 50 years this year. Wow. And we would then go to antique shows and pick up Valentines, hide them, and then give them to each other on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's
well,
so
now we
precious.
have over 400 or 500 Valentines, and this is the first time we've ever had them out. And we're so thrilled, and next year for Valentine's Day we're going to have a major Valentine's party around it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this.
No.
This is such a beautiful part.
Thanks for highlighting some of this part of our life, 50 years.
Wow. I want to thank Jim Sandoro for a private tour of the Buffalo Transportation Pierce Arrow Museum today. Jim is an amazing visionary who has used his passion to give the world around him. His unyielding spirit and that love of cars that he's had since his Dennis the Menace days as a child has made the most remarkable showplace of classic automobiles, motorcycles, and bikes that I've ever seen. Kudos to you, Jim. Thanks for inspiring the rest of us in how to follow in your footsteps of using your own personal passions to make a positive difference in the world around us. Thank you for joining us on today's adventure of passionate living. My goal in producing the show is to inspire you to fall even more deeply in love with your already amazing life. I want to sincerely thank you for being here with me today. A special thanks to our sponsors as you make this adventure into passionate living possible. Passionate Living airs weekly at these times, and if you miss it, join us on Friday evenings for a watch party on our Passionate Living Facebook page. Also, you can view this show at passionateliving.com. But remember to press the like button if you enjoy our show. As we bring this show to a close, I'd like to remind you that if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. So remember to keep telling yourself that you can do anything. We'll see you next week for another adventure of passionate living.